Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and to those on the East Coast, good evening. Today's another episode of The Fellas, and we're going to talk about the drama that took place in Las Vegas this year. But before we get into the meat of the discussion, please make sure you like, subscribe, and share. And don't forget, on Sundays, 7 p.m. Eastern, we go live. So if you want to be part of the interaction, you want to chat with us a little bit, come on, and we'll accept you and actually talk about your comments on air. But first, let's go ahead and talk about the race. Ray, Anthony, thanks for joining us. Ray, what did you think about today? I know today was a little bit of drama. Everyone thought the standings were final as of last night, but the disqualifications of McLaren. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that was something to wake me up this morning to hear everybody talking about that they got disqualified because they possibly ran the car too low and it scrubbed off the stuff. And also, heard that they may have realized it in the during the race and was trying to have them do like a coast towards the end before braking because it would then, under braking at the end of the straight, that's when you'd get the most downforce onto the car, and it probably would then, cause it to scratch. So it's I'm gonna say this, man. All right, FIA took a page out of NASCAR. Okay, and Liberty was right in bed with them and say, "Yo, let's do this," because right now you went from Lando running out there, Max kind of if and if. Now the heat's on, right? Right. Everybody's, Max is right there with Oscar, right? And Lando is, just a little bit, one winning spot ahead. So, again, I'm gonna flashback. Just like there was another race where stuff was orchestrated, I believe that stuff was orchestrated again. I'm out. Okay.
Anthony, what do you think about the disqualifications?
I wholeheartedly agree. My whole thing is, it goes back to a saying in basketball and football: you got to sell seats. You got to sell seats, man. You got to bring that crowd in. So doing this creates more drama. It creates that I don't know, that epic finish, so to say, that people want. So now you're going to get more viewers tuned in, because of this. Because some people were like, the season's it's done. This is what's going to happen. That's going to happen. Now you're like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, wow. Things may change. Let me tune in and see what's going on. So, yeah, they got to sell seats, man. And just like Ray said, stuff that was orchestrated before, which I won't even get into that. But I think the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I believe that there's some things in life that are orchestrated for money. It could be everything for all we know, right? But that is a possibility. I just can't believe that McLaren had a DNF on both cars, right? It's just so fortunate for Max, unfortunate for him in many levels. Now he has a fighting chance. Before he really didn't have. He had a chance, but not necessarily a fighting chance. Now he has a fighting chance. He's tied with Piastri, and he's only 24 points behind Lando, right? So anything can happen. As we will get into later in the qualifications, the weather played a major role on everyone's positioning on the race, right? So that can happen again. We have 2 more races, so it's a major blunder. If things naturally happened to McLaren and there was nothing that was forcing it, and they really made a blunder and really made a mistake on their cars, this was the worst time for it to happen. Very worst time for it to happen.
Well, I just want to jump in back, if you don't mind, and just say I kind of find it hard that the same mistake was made across 2 cars, right? For McLaren, right? McLaren is, for the past couple of events that we've had, they've been pretty solid in what they're doing, right? So I kind of, how could, I don't know. I just,
I believe it happened to Ferrari earlier.
I was not going to try and say that, but now that you brought it up, right? Yeah, sure. Right. And that team has not been as consistent as McLaren has been, right, in their performance. So that's kind of why I kind of find it, at this point where it's really critical, they have two guys that are going for the driving championship that they would have somehow overlooked that.
Anthony, anything to share on that?
So I'm going to go back all the way back. So my whole thing is when the new ownership took over F1, so to say, I think things started going downhill then because a lot of stuff just doesn't fit. Things happen. You're like, wait a minute, that just doesn't seem right. Of course, we know we're talking about 2021. We know what we're talking about with that. But like Ray said, for two cars, for a team that's as precise as McLaren, as precise as that team is, your technicians, your engineers check everything. So for two cars, like you said, to fail like that, it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense at all.
Playing devil's advocate, I like to do that every once in a while. They did have some extreme things happen during the weekend to where human error can come in, right? I'm assuming it's one person checking that or one person that's in charge of that, maybe even two. And because of the rain, because of the qualifying, they were having problems with their cars during qualifying Friday night, right? It's cold, it's raining, it's downpouring. They're adjusting the cars constantly because of the rain and their environments. So human error now kicks in because it's not a regular weekend. I'm just playing devil's advocate. I'm not saying that's what happened, but what I'm trying to say is giving some benefit of the doubt that soon as things start going awry, human error kicks in. That's what I'm saying.
That's
true. I can say, okay, I see your point.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think it lines up so perfectly for Drive to Survive and for the audience watching.
Well,
right?
We'll see that.
You see what I'm saying? And that's revenue generating. Well, additional revenue generating, right? Because as you said before, now people that were kind of, maybe I'm on the fence. Maybe I'll watch whatever. Maybe I don't know if he's going to do it. Now it's like, yo, it's in your face. Stuff is on. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, right. This is, and for Lando now, it's really time to put up or shut up. So it's gonna be interesting to see what Zach says, if he's gonna come across and put the traditional driver standing setup for going forward, telling Piastri that, yo, we need to bring this into home. So guess what? Since Lando's ahead, you blocking for him, boy. That's all you're doing. You're blocking, right? Forget about this ain't your year. So we're giving it to Lando. So, yo, you got to be there and be the Checo, right? that was. Be the Checo that was for Max.
One last question I have for both of you. All right, so if you come in first place, you get 25 points, right? Come in second place, how many points do you get? Is it 15?
Possibly. I haven't really.
Right? So let's just say Max or Piastri win next week. That's 25 points. And so they gain 10 points on Lando. So Lando's up by 24. So that means they have 14 points between Lando. If Lando comes in second, now Lando has to come in second. It's still up for grabs for all three. Because the last race, they can score 25 points. That'd be 50 points. And they can beat Lando, or Lando can beat them by 1 point. So,
we've seen it happen. We've seen it happen before.
Oh, so now you brought it up. So we're talking about the what's in the courts with Felipe Massa from back in Brazil with Lewis's first race where he won by 1 point, right?
I'm just saying.
Somebody took an L to make. Okay, all right. Let me stop.
So Piastri is not giving up now. No, he's like, I can still win this, and the percentages are there. It's like 20% to win.
But I think it would be up to Zach. But it's going to be interesting to see if they do it, if they do or do not, right? Because typically, as been said before, right, if you're at a point where you have a driver that's showing that they are approaching the driver championship really close, and you have one that's not as close, you come back to say, hey, we're going to institute the rule that this is our guy. You're to play wingman for our guy to make sure he solidifies.
I wouldn't do that if I was the CEO.
Oh, so let me just say this though. If they mess around, Mr. Verstappen will gladly take it from all of them, and then they're going to be the laughing stock of the whole season. because they're the good ones that could have be ahead and then threw that sucker away on papaya rules, right? So that's all I gotta say. I'm sorry.
Ah, so let's move on. Speaking of disqualifications and speaking of people getting I don't know, positions taken away from them, the wet and the cold of the qualifying, right? We had Lewis in 20th position. Leclerc was in 11th, and then we had the big melee during the race, right? So what did you guys think about all the I'm going to come to you, Anthony. What do you think about the qualification and practices that were just in the wet and the cold?
You know, I used to be one who said, okay, if it's going to be wet or whatever, I'm not going to worry about it. Lewis is the wet weather king. You know, he used to be the wet weather king. It doesn't matter. It could be a torrential downpour. He's got it. But as of late, not so much. You know, so, and I don't know. I think the newer cars play a factor into that also. So the weather did have a factor in it. When it's wet like that, you can expect mishaps, so to say, or foo-bars, so to say. So, I mean, it was expected. It was really expected.
Right?
So, again, yes, Mother Nature always plays, her joke on them. And, you see people that typically you would see people that would not necessarily be at the top bubble up. However, there was a couple of key factors, I think. The track itself being a street track, right, that doesn't have much runoff. Well, has no runoff, sorry. It only key areas, right, but not as much runoff. And at the same time, the fact that the road was being used, so they never picked up the grip that they needed, right? Because that's a public street, right? So, again, I don't recall if they did any adjustment to the pavement, right, as they would do on a track, because it's a different tarmac for a track than it is for the street. So it intensified, things going wrong, right, from that perspective because of the rain. But we're getting back to Lewis here. Answer me this question: how long's Ferrari been in motorsports, especially at F1?
Right? Probably 70 years. 70.
Okay.
70
okay.
plus.
All right. And
Since
they've
the
said that,
Fangio days.
right. And they've said that the gentleman that sits on the pit wall that talks to Lewis is very experienced, right? How come Lewis is driving a car? How come he couldn't say, yo, you have one more lap, go for it? Where was he at that point? Did Lewis need to get out the car, come look on it, from his perspective and say, oh, I have one more lap, so let me get back in the car and go. Right? Again, I just don't see these inconsistencies bother me, right? For a team that's been around with such history to the point that, all right, it just say that it bothers me, right? To see that. And I just see it happening. And I see it. There's follies. Yes. I'm not taking away from Charles. Charles has follies that he's working with, but it just seems like back from the day again, when Mercedes orchestrated Rosberg win, they gave Lewis the B, not even the B team, the D team, and say, go win with this, and better yet, let me tie your hand behind your back. So go win with that too. Right. So it just seems that way. I don't understand a team that's so seasoned and that's, so qualified, missing something like that to say to your driver, no, you can go one more time.
Yeah, I was disappointed in that. Lewis getting 20th and 19th position during qualifying, and he had one more opportunity to use the track evolution to his advantage, and them not really pushing him was something else. Now, I don't know whether or not he had enough battery in his car charged up, right? We don't know any of that, and maybe that played a role. Like, don't even try to do it. You don't have any, battery charged up. But none of that came out. It was more or less that he passed the line and he thought that he didn't have another opportunity, right? So to me, that's his engineers, that's his crew not giving him the information. And what are they looking at? I mean, that's their job. They get paid $300,000 or more to make sure that those details are are worked out and communicated to their drivers. So I was a little disappointed with Ferrari. And yeah, Ferrari's been around a long time, but evolution, people move, people retire, people come in, new people come out. And I'm wondering in my head, I don't know who's on the team, but a part of me is wondering if everyone speaks fluent English or they speak fluent Italian, and look, there's some sort of language barrier there, right? Because I know for a fact Leclerc speaks Italian.
So let me ask you this though, but for FIA rules, if I remember correctly, it's required, regardless of what other language you speak, you have to speak English while you're doing the race, right?
Yeah.
So yes, they can speak another language, but so the point I'm making, you have to have some level of proficiency in the language other than being basic, right? For you to, so that when somebody communicates in English, you understand exactly what they're saying. Because even the guy that's sitting on the pit wall, his race engineer, he's seen the telemetry. I know what the battery capability is. He's seen that. That car has more sensors on it than, it's like a shuttle. Believe the amount of sensors that are on those cars. So he sees more than, it's on his big display to say, hey, the battery's harvesting right now. So you don't have, the power that you need to go to do the, to push the pass type of deal. Right. So he sees all of that, and he's, he should be able to relay that to his driver to help him, aid him in driving the car. Right. So again, I saw it, we saw that last year with Ferrari, right? Those blunders that they had. And, this year, it just seems that the blunders are being focused in, seem to be happening on one side of the house more than the other at a greater amount than the other, from my perspective.
Well, we'll move on. I don't know, Anthony, if you have anything else you want to add about the qualifying, but I kind of expect Leclerc to have more success than Lewis if on an equal playing field, because he's been there so long, right? If Leclerc went to Mercedes, I think there would be a learning curve for Leclerc, and Lewis would just be able to, be himself because he's been there for 10 years, right? So, yeah, we're not there. So I think our speculations and our opinions are important, right? Just moving on to Max maximizing, of course, and winning the race. I think Max, again, my man can drive. My man is doing everything he needs to do to compete. He's capitalizing on every race, every turn, every apex, every mistake McLaren is making. He is capitalizing. He is maximizing his efforts. And Anthony, what do you think about Max's race this weekend?
Max was being Max.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of times you'll see Max, he'll perform to the highest level, and then he'll get frustrated and make that one little small, tiny mistake, and that's it. He gets frustrated, he's done, and it messes up his whole race. But he was dialed in. He was completely dialed in. Just no mistakes, completely dialed in, and like a, I don't know, man, like a warrior on the battlefield or something, man. He was dialed in, on his target. He's ready to go.
Yeah,
I know for both of you, he's one of your favorite drivers. But go ahead, Ray. Go ahead and
yeah. Thank you. Thank
you.
Yeah. Well, as I said, what's his Lando made a mistake, right? He went to go cover him, and he did it too aggressively, and the car couldn't do a right-handed turn, so he had to drift out to go around the turn. And Max was like, "Thank you very much, I'm going to take it." Right, and that's what Max does. He is a good driver. He knows his craft very well, and I give him props for that. I have nothing to take. I won't cry that down at all. He will exercise the opportunity, right? And he has a team behind him also that's very seasoned, and they're in tune with him. So, as I would say, if McLaren's not careful, they're going to be the laughing stock of this whole season if Max come around and walk away with that bad boy, right? So they need, I think, they need to really sit down and have a heart-to-heart with what's going on, what they're going to do, because as I've said before, this proprietary rule thing, dude, he just flipped that on his head now, right? Because before it was just between the two McLaren drivers. Oh, yeah. And Max walked up and said, "Yo, buddy," with the aid of some, whatever situation, and say, "Hey, guess what? I'm here to play. Show me what you got." Right. So now, Zach, I think you might have to reevaluate, don't play the tough guy, because it's going to look bad on them if they let Max come through and take that championship away from them.
Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna look bad. I just think it's not gonna look good. Max
Whoa,
is
whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold up, brother. I gotta interrupt you. My apologies.
mhm.
When I grew up, there was bad and there is good, right? And from what you said, you don't know if it's going to look bad, but it's not going to look good. So what's the opposite of good? Isn't it bad? Because I was not
No,
a good English student. You know what I'm saying? So I got dinged on that on tests all the time,
all
right?
right,
I forget.
okay.
What's it called? Antonyms? Is that what it's called? I don't know. Antonyms, right? Something
You
like
see what
that.
I'm dealing with, Anthony? Listen, what I'm trying to say is, if it was Leclerc, if it was George Russell, if it was Lewis, if it was Seiss, it would be bad. It will look bad. But Max is the best driver on the circuit. And he's been showing that for the last 7 races. He's been on podium for the last 7 races. Right? He didn't have in his mind, he didn't have a car in the beginning of the season. Now he has a car. Right? So him being the best driver on the circuit, right? And coming back and getting close, it's kind of expected if they do what they did. It's not expected if George wins it. It's not expected if somebody else wins it other than McLaren and Seiss. So yeah, it's not going to look good, but I don't know if it's going to look bad. Right? That's my point. There's a gray area there, right? That Max is the man right now. I can't take it away from him, right? Eventually Lewis is going to retire, and when he does, I'm going to have to find another driver that I'm going to have to support. And right now, my heart's telling me it's Piastri, but Piastri's not looking good right now, right?
Man.
But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting for sure.
Yeah. Well,
But speaking of which, Mercedes is finishing strong. Right, the last couple of races, George is raced very well, getting on the podium a few times. Antonelli, he started off in the back as well with Lewis, and was able to come in third. Wow. So now Ferrari looks bad. That's my point, right? Because of Antonelli coming in and finishing third, and Russell finishing what? What did Russell? No, actually Antonelli. Yes, Russell finished second, and Antonelli finishing third. So yeah, Mercedes is finishing strong. They've pretty much wrapped up the second constructors championship in that sense, and Ferrari's looking bad. So what do you think, Anthony, about how Mercedes is finishing out?
Got a pretty sore spot in my. See, here's my thing with Mercedes. When Lewis was on top and was winning and winning and winning, all of a sudden Mercedes gets to the point where Lewis has a trash car. Like, okay, how does this happen? Wait a minute, give me this. Let me understand this. And I'm gonna dig a little deeper here and give you my philosophy on that. My thoughts as a whole, when this debacle happened back in 2021 with Lewis, I think Mercedes had a part in it. Okay.
Whoa.
Now, let me tell you why. Let me see how I can word this.
Go ahead, man. Tell us how you feel.
I don't think F1, the FIA teams, I don't think they want a person like Lewis to go past Schumacher. I think that it is being orchestrated or manufactured to make Max the new Schumacher. Okay. I think even though, the whole act that Toto put up, oh my God, this is wrong. I still, in my heart, think that this whole thing, both teams, all of them had a part in it against Lewis. That's just me. I really do.
Right.
I really do, because it's just ironic, man. And then, Lewis is an outstanding driver. Can't take anything from him. He's
one
an
of the best,
outstanding
if
driver.
not the best. Yeah.
So how all of a sudden, he's like mediocre? Why can't, like you said, Ferrari's been around for a long time, since the Fangio days. Okay. They probably the most storied team in the F1. Everybody want to drive Ferrari. Okay. So tell me how a team like Ferrari can't put you in a winning car. I don't get it. I really don't get it.
Ray, you want to take this one?
No, but it makes me seem like a junior. So okay, wow. All right, so this is what I wonder how Lewis feels now that he's seeing that they may have shifted the car from what it was to one that's more performing, given the situation he's in right now, right? And again, I don't know, if there was any bad blood with Lewis at Mercedes, but I just wonder, right? Because as you said, Antonelli, nothing to take away from it from Kimi, he's still a rookie, so there's some things that he's still messing up on. But it seems like they had Mercedes has swapped around the car, made some changes that's brought the car back into play, right? And the car, and Lewis, the Ferrari guys are looking there going, well, it's like they don't know what car they're going to get each weekend, right? Whereas it seems like the Mercedes car seems to be more consistent, right, in what they, in what they're producing, and also able to work well at the tracks they're going to, right? So I just wondered, what does what Lewis would, what's probably going through his mind right now to see, what's going on with the, where he's at this group and where he came from, and see what they're doing. But again, George did an excellent race. He was there, to make sure that if anything went south, we can pick it up. Yes, they're not, it's a shame that Mercedes hadn't made that last step to come up to where Max and McLaren are, because that would be even more intriguing, right? Since Ferrari's still not a sure hit on stuff. But but not taking away anything from Charles. Whenever possible, he's been on a team, he's been able to use the car to its fullest, more than Lewis can. And that's a different discussion. But yes, he maximizes the car and it's a potential, right? But it's just, yeah, Mercedes is, they brought back a car there that they missed, switched mid-season. That's doing pretty good, right? With their drivers, doing pretty good. And, I can only say props to them, right?
Yeah. Props to Mercedes. I think they've all year long, they've been talking about their car performs better in cold environments. And the car performed great this week, and it was cold. So, I believe that most, the technical advancement of these cars, everything plays a role into everything else. There's a domino effect. So if the aerodynamics affects the brakes affect the the aerodynamics and the engine and everything ties to something, right? So I believe that Mercedes has and Red Bull and McLaren, they've got a great system of a car and a team, and Ferrari doesn't, right? Which really leads into our last topic here of Ferrari really underachieving, right? There's no way in my hearts that Lewis deserved to be on 19th or 20th position unless there was some sort of penalty, right? That's a driver, car, team issue. I don't know which one of those three that they had the issue with, but one of those three they had an issue that weekend, and same for Leclerc, right? He wasn't in 20th, but he started in 11th. That's not. He's top 5. Ferrari is the third best team on the circuit, so they should be 5th or 6th almost every time, right? And to see them way back, there's something going on there. And now, I said earlier this year that let's wait till 2026. Let's just wait till 2026, and everyone's on a level playing field. But Ray, you said something that it didn't register, but now it's registering, that if that team, if they don't make changes and get some experienced people on that team, they're going to mess up the new car as well. They're not going to be smart enough or educated or experienced enough to get that car up and running, so they still be within the top 3 teams. So I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried for Lewis's legacy with Ferrari right now. yeah, this year was a tough year, and now he's going into a new car and new technology and everything else. And I don't know if his team is capable of providing the expertise that he needs. What do you think about Ferrari's underachievement this not only this race but this year, Ray?
Well, yeah, it's reminiscent of stuff that happened last year. There were, streaks of genius, and then it's like, no, then we forgot how smart we were and we fell back. But this year it seems to be more consistent that they're missing the mark, right, with the car altogether. And it's just it's sad, right? Because I have a driver that's part of their team that I'm interested in, and is knowing what the driver has achieved from before to see where he is now, it causes me to I think any reasonable person would scratch their head, and because you have some people saying, oh, he's lost the spark, but what happened at that sprint race, right? There have been other races where the car has been at a higher level than it's been right now, and the support's been there, where you see the old Lewis shows up, right, and start driving like how Lewis drives. So my question, it's troubling, right, to see what's going on there, because all right, say as Simon said, Charles has been with the team longer, he's entrenched and all that stuff, but it just started out the season where Lewis was like maybe a position, 2 positions behind Charles, right? Charles would be 4th, Lewis would be like 6th, all right, in the beginning, to a point now where Lewis is like nowhere to be seen in comparison where Charles is. So it just listen, it doesn't take a genius, but it takes some, but the thing that it takes is that people don't have is common sense. So you're trying to say to me that this dude for the last 7 championships was a fluke, right? And all of a sudden he comes to this team and we're showing him up that he has no talent. Really? So that's all I got to say on that.
Anthony, your thoughts on Ferrari?
I completely agree with what Ray said, because sometimes I have to get off social media or the Facebook groups sometimes, because I tend to try to go off. Oh, he's lost his spark and he's not good anymore. And I'm like, are you serious? So like Ray said, you're trying to tell me this guy who's won all these championships, now all of a sudden he's a bust? Really? That's what you're trying to tell me? This guy who has won races on almost completely bald tires, he's a fluke? Stop it. Please just stop it. Like Ray said, it's a common sense thing. Something is going on, something dirty in the water, so to say.
Yeah, I just think something wrong with Ferrari altogether. Charles hasn't won a race as much as he did last year as well, right? So I think it's a combination of two, and I think we can all be correct. I think there's something going on there with Lewis, but I also think that Ferrari is not a great team. They're not gelling. There's something going on there. I don't know if there's something going on there. We'll leave it at that. But I did notice that Lewis had some great A-listers in his corner this race. He had Beyonce and Jay-Z. So yeah, I think that might have distracted him too. Who knows who knows if it was Beyonce that distracted Lewis? But
well, he did take it for a lap around the track. So I mean,
yeah. So I think our producers are trying to put up an image now, but it's not coming up. But anyway, oh, there they are. Yeah. So Ferrari could have had some issues because they were in the paddock of Ferrari, and who knows if that was their issue. But just looking at the standards now, looking at the race, looking at the drivers, constructors, and the team standings and the drivers' standings, Verstappen. What are we looking at now? We're looking at driver standings, and Verstappen and Piastri are tied because of disqualifications, and because they're tied, it's anybody's race in these next 2 races, right? Lando has to be second in every race or first in those last 2 races to win. He can't be third, he can't be fourth, and Piastri and Verstappen win, or he's going to lose a lot of points, right? So that's up to anyone to win it right now. Unfortunately, the way it's been going down in the last 7 races, Verstappen his odds to win are increasing by the second. And we'll see what happens. What do you guys think about what's happening with the standings? Right?
Well, okay. Well, that's the song. The song comes to mind. Heat is on. Remember that song?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So right now it's on Lando's, derriere. The heat is on for him, and he seems to be handling it pretty well. I don't know what changes he made, but I would, suggest keep what you're doing, because you have gotten to a new level that you weren't like mid-season, right? And it seemed like, in some ways, maybe he pushed it off onto Oscar, because Oscar is like not performing like he was, earlier in the season. So again, it comes back to this, man. If McLaren's not careful, okay, they will lose, but it won't be bad, but it won't be good for them. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay, right. That's all right. And people are going to look at them a little differently because of the fact that they were so far ahead to come and walk away with 0. So, that's all I was got to say.
The drama of the year will come down to the last race. I have a feeling that's what's going to happen. Anthony, what do you think about where we stand right now?
Complete just chaos turn of events. Lando is definitely, as they say about a bad football coach, you're in the hot seat, buddy. You're in the hot seat. So focus. He's gonna have to focus, man, and just 0 point negative 0 room for error.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just no room for error at all.
True.
Totally agree. And with that, we'll take a quick look at the drivers constructors championship right now. We know McLaren has sewed up their winning, but also Ferrari's dropped down to 4th place. They were 2nd until two races ago. Red Bull has taken the lead on them by 12 points or 13 points. And then now Mercedes is almost 40 points ahead of Red Bull. So Mercedes, unless they have a DNF, right now is looking to be 2nd in the constructors, in which they'll get a big stipend, big bonus for being 2nd. So it's a shame. It's a shame that Ferrari is underachieving right now. I think they've had 3 DNFs between Lewis and Leclerc. I think both of them have had 3 DNFs. So if they didn't have that, there would be sure thing for 2nd place. Any thoughts there, guys?
No, I'm out.
Yeah. I don't blame you. It's a sore subject for sure. Last but not least, predictions for next race. What are your guys' predictions? I'll start with you, Ray. We're in Qatar.
Max, Lando, George.
Woo, man.
No, sorry, no. Rephrase. No, Max, Lando, and Charles.
Lax, Mando, and Charles. Okay, so Piastri's not in there and George is not in there. Okay.
No.
Mr. Anthony, what are your thoughts on Qatar and who's going to finish 1st, 2nd, and 3rd?
Lando, Piastri, and George. I think Max is going to get frustrated because he knows what's ahead. He knows what's on the line. So I think he's going to get frustrated and make dumb mistakes. And
man, I hate to disagree with you on that one, but he don't really make mistakes. But anyway, we'll see what happens next week. But yeah, Mr. Garrett, thank you for joining us for this episode of the.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was our pleasure. And everyone else, we see you next week, Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Have a good one.